Hello everybody. Hello again. Few Designs Limbs here. Back with our next insert. Previously we worked on doing the blocking out of the lower limbs. And today we're kind of, gonna really bring these to life. We're gonna bring our sculpts to life, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you found it to be easy. So then we can step into the detailing, and well, without any further ado or any fancy speeches, I think we can jump into it. Let's go. And there we have it. As you remember, this is exactly how it looked when we last worked on it. Nothing else has changed. Let me just activate our screencast keys here. It's a habit I need to really develop. I'm holding down shift and just smoothing that down so it doesn't have such a harsh and sharp edge. If you remember, we were using the grab brush to set those into position, so we need to get back into kind of fixing it properly. And what we should have done in the previous tutorial before getting to this, and I'm sorry for this, but it's not a train smash, we will still be able to get our stuff right, is to click on bully on and add it to the leg. And by the way, let's do some housekeeping and retitle this. Sorry, caps lock is active, so holding down shift is not working. And while we have that, we can click union. And by the way, excuse the loud keyboard. I don't know if any of you guys mind it. I know some people find it irritating. I used to find it irritating as well, but very used to it now. I love my keyboard. I've got a Scorpion K632. By the way, I am not sponsored. It's a Marvel keyboard. It's not too bad. With the rainbow lighting, it's pretty nice. I like it. The Windows keys have this cool little like scorpion tail. That's the logo, pretty much. It's but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty badass. Maybe once I can get some streaming gear, I'll be able to share this with y'all. Anyway, okay, union, ink dropper, select the ball, not the balls, just one. Control save and Control A, apply, select the ball, remove. I hope y'all remember why we're adding the modifier only to that one and why we're titling it beforehand, which is actually unnecessary, to be dead honest, but it's just it helps with not having to retitle it or getting confused while you work either. With that applied, we can delete, Control save. By the way, to delete, I know the screencast keys is showing you, and in general the screen will show you, but you press X on the keyboard, there's a shortcut, and it'll give you the delete dialog. And otherwise press delete, which will not even ask for your permission once you do that, because Blender's then like, okay, this dude's pretty certain he wants to just delete this. Anyway, alright, perfect. And there's our leg. It is semi prepared. What we need to do now, let's just press period and make sure everything does fit. Control tab and go back into sculpt mode. By the way, if you control tab and don't release tab once pressing it, on release, just like with when you're changing your angle of view, on release it will activate whichever mode you're hovering over. So it's Control tab, hold the tab key, and you can just pretty much swivel around, and whichever one you land on and release, it will go into it. Alrighty, okay, what we're gonna do, sorry, that was very unnecessary of me, but I'll give you all the tips possible for y'all to have it easier. I'll maybe do a tutorial for y'all on the just your general tips in the sculpt for sculpt mode and for the general working area, things that will make life easier, like the need to know tips, not like super intense stuff, but things that will just make your life a little bit easier while you work. Alright, okay, we press shift R as always, and we're going to choose the level of detailing we'll be working with here. Now, fact is, legs aren't really seen that much unless you're going to show off. In this one, yes indeed, we are kind of doing a muscular character, so there needs to be some level of high detailing to it, but it's not a necessity, guys. Just being dead honest. So we'll go to this scaling, which is still quite highly scaled. 0.13, which is a perfect number. 13, it's an apostolic number. I don't mind sharing that. Alright, there we go. I'm not super religious, by the way, just putting it out there for y'all. 13 is an apostolic number, 13 apostles. I think it's like general knowledge by now. It should be, and if it's not, well, we need to amend that. Okay, now hope you noticed this. If you're paying attention to the screen, we just press Ctrl 2 to add the multi-res and its subdivision. It recognizes it as subdivision set, which I had failed to mention last time. I myself was actually getting familiar with this, just to see how it works nowadays. But remember, I told you control and any of your numerical values add subdivision, and will add that same number of subdivisions to your object. So here has Control 2, and then we have 2 subdivisions. If we boost this up to 3, as you can see, corresponding and correlating in the multi-res modifier that's added here, it's given us the exact same number of divisions, which is pretty badass actually. I will keep it up on 3 subdivisions just in case. Actually no, that's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. The legs aren't all that hectic. Using that for like doing the hands, so you can add veins and stuff, that makes more sense, and be able to do the nails in more detail. And by the way, the reason we didn't do that in the previous one, like I said, not really going to be showing off the hands, just kind of showing you the techniques. But if you're going to go high res, then you want to up your division, the division count. And so we'll work with 2 subdivisions, and that's perfect, which is weird because the render's allowing for 3, which it shouldn't. I don't know what that is about, but anyway, that's fine. Let's go. So, muscle structure. Remember, we are always working with references. Always work with reference. And we'll go back to our clay strips and square bracket left and reduce our brush size. I want you to remember this. We're adding this muscle in here that's called the sartorial. I don't know if it's called sartorial because that has a weird sense of humor, like satire. Know what I mean? Sorry. You're gonna hear dad jokes from here. Okay, cool. Shift F. Let's increase the strength to about 0.3. Just gonna draw out its outline and how it generally flows. Then we can add everything else in afterwards. So the sartorial flows down all the way down limbs and right underneath the right underneath the knee. There we go. So now we know exactly how it flows. See that? We can freestyle too. Brilliant. There we go. And lacquer. There we go. So we have our sartorial. It's generally an S shape-ish kind of muscle. So what we want to do here is shape it out. Maybe let's use the grab brush. It's not really that necessary, by the way, guys. This is just a us just trying to be excellent. I was just trying to have a spirit of excellence about this. And there we go. So as you can see, we've got that nice S shape to it, and that's our first muscle set sculpted in. And we'll go back to our clay strips, and I'm gonna be showing you as much of the muscle structure as possible. A lot of this is completely unnecessary, guys. I promise you, you don't have to go through so much hard work. It's completely unnecessary. So we have 3 sets of muscles here, right, that form up this end of the sartorial muscle groups. And so 1, 2, 3, and those strips work exactly in that way. Study your anatomy though, don't just take my word for it. You can't just, I might make a mistake and you guys might need to, have that rechecked and validated. You don't want to go to your lecturers and tutors and be like, but this dude said, yeah, I'm not the be all and end all. Just giving you good quality advice, that's all. There we go. And there's the inner muscle. So technically you have 4 sets, so it's the 3 smaller ones and this large one here. If you want to know them by name, I suggest you do the research. I can give you a little bit of a short clue in terms of the name. The Pectineus being this right here, it's called the Pectineus, because I guess they're kind of like pectorals. Pectineus, so it's like breakdown of muscles, which is what I assume pectoral, the pec prefix would stand for, maybe. Anyway, getting a little bit ahead of self here. Okay, so we have that set up, and then there's another single smaller muscle which lies right within here, right on the edge. And remember, the only reason we sculpt these in and have all these individual bulges is that we will be able to come and smooth in and choose how ripped we want our character to be. If you don't sculpt in the structure this way, you're kind of, yes, you can work it like reverse engineer it and just add in the parts where you want definition to be, but I feel that can only come in when you actually understand and know how to work with your muscle structure in the first place. Know what I mean? For sure. Okay, now I need to do this and smooth this back down, because this muscle is actually not that big at all. It's a small little muscle that just connects to those two ends. And then we have another set. Just changing my reference image, by the way. Remember, I told you guys always work with the reference image. I never don't. Okay, there I lie. It's not that I never work with one, but I try and avoid working without, because you want to have the best work you can, the best possible work you can. It's best to use reference images. Now this next set of muscles, sorry, let me just enlarge this a little bit. It's not really all that visible, and you won't have much of definition there with that anyway, so it's actually kind of almost irrelevant, but I do it anyway. Let's just enlarge this muscle here, because between here and the muscle structure that we're gonna add, this stretch here of muscle will be going from here all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Okay, and it'll be stretching from, let's go into the back view, halfway, let's say a third of the way from the back of the of your leg, and it arches inward, coming to a point right here on the side of the leg, which you can kind of break it down into two other smaller muscles. So once that comes, you'll have like a little bit of an indent and another muscle that's stretching from here. Okay, there we go. Oh, forgive me, I don't know where that's coming from. I am not one to fall ill, but anyway, that doesn't matter right now. Let's do that, and this one singular muscle, and we're gonna make sure it's got its defining edges and platform. There we go. That is cool, perfectly positioned. Alright, and then so we'll remain with the back view just so we can work these in properly, and do pay attention to like your muscle structure layout. For one as well, we're gonna need to extend the gluteus section of the torso, and add those muscles over and have them overreaching. And over here what we have is another set of the leg muscles. These are actually called the bicep femoris, because it's made up of two muscles if you are gonna break it down. And the first of the bicep muscles comes from here, which is this one we're sculpting in right now, and the second will be flowing right next to it over here. So we might even want to reduce this some here, and there we go. These aren't going to stand out all that much either, but we're doing this just for for the sake of learning and doing it accurately and improving our skills and our craft. It's important, and I think it's worthwhile. Wouldn't you all agree with me? I think so. I think it is an agreeable thing to do. There we go. And this will flow into the front, kind of like how the sartorial muscle tissue flows. So we'll have this flowing right underneath the knee, and the tendons coming into the leg, and tendons stretching, muscle tissue will be stretching from there to form the outer end of our distal leg. So with those, generally, let me extend this. Generally, I'm not talking about an Asian military man, but general. As in common. Yeah, understandably, I don't know, choose one. Okay, there we go. And both of the this muscle here will actually flow downward and join the sartorial. There we go. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of trouble focusing here. And then you have a little bit of a smaller one, which is where I'm mistaking it, that flows with it upward, and the rest of this muscle tissue flow that goes this way has to come from this end of the bicep femoris. Okay, now we come into the front view, and we are back to forming this form of our leg. Sorry, the sartorial here is actually kind of thick and not done perfectly, but it's not train smash. Let's just drag it out a little bit. Let me get a bit more of its form accurate for you guys. The more accurate and the better we work on this, the better. Let me use the inflate brush. Whoa, Control Z. I'm holding Shift there, and let's inflate a little bit. Have a slight reduction. G brush. Send that backward a little bit, and there we go. This will all smooth out quite nicely once we're kind of done with this portion of it. Perfect. Alright, back into the front view, and we'll start adding in our quadriceps. Quad meaning 4. You have the sartorius muscle would generally form one of the 4 as far as I understand anatomy. I do know, however, that your main femoral your main femoral muscle tissue, though it's always designed as one, sorry about that, I'm actually seeing that in my references, is actually made up of 2, even though we're usually familiar with it being just one single piece of like solid steak flippin' sauce. Let's chow this from a cow kind of muscle tissue. But this in itself is made up of 2 separate muscles. Maybe that's why it's called the quadriceps, because it wouldn't make sense. Although this one is called by one name, the femoral. Yeah. So let me know if any of you know. You have your rectus femoris, which is the outside. So this would have to be vectus femoris. Yeah. Anyway, that's muscle structure for you. It's a little bit of a complex thing. And since that's added, we now can build in this lower end. And I've noticed one thing about anatomy. This muscle here will always, the vastus medialis, will generally bulge out a whole lot more than any other muscle in terms of leg tissue. I assume it's a really hard worker on the body, or particularly in mine as well. But you know, because we have that weird arch of bone structure, maybe this muscle is to help hold all of that weight up. But there we go, and that's sorted. And so we've got our 3 main muscles, I guess, here so far that are done. And then we've got the last to join up, which is there. Perfect. Alrighty, this is gonna look fantastic when we smooth it down, I promise y'all. If you have been following, I'm sure you've noticed that's one of the greatest advantages of working like this. Your work will look amazing. It will look amazeballs. Amazeballs. It'll look what? Amazeballs. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Got a little bit excited. A little bit excited. Okay, now working in from the gluteus, medius, which actually flows backwards, as it should, over the muscle tissue that lies here on the side of the leg. And I do not know these ones by name, so hopefully we'll do another tutorial sometime in future where we can do the full muscle structure. It's not, maybe it's the vastus lataris. It's part of the vastus lataris. Yeah, it is. Vastus lataris is quite a huge ass muscle, actually. I didn't know that. See, I'm learning while I'm teaching you guys right here and now. They say those who can't do teach, and the reason why, I'm quoting Jim Quick right now quickly. See what we did there? Quoting from Jim Quick quickly, but those who can't do teach, and the reason why those who can't do teach, it's not an insult. Think about it. This is a perfectly positive interpretation. Those who can't do teach, because then once they teach, those who can't are then more than able. They will be the most capable of them all. Like me right now, while I'm teaching you, I'm now learning as well. You improve every day. So the gluteus, with the gluteus medius done there, I now know that this muscle that falls in here is the vastus lateralis, which flows all the way down to the side of the leg. I always thought there's like a different muscle set there. So yeah, you can't ever know too much. Learning is good. We should share this information. We should share our knowledge with one another. Only way to become excellent artists. There we go. Only way to become excellent people. It's like the word of God, right? You gotta share it for it to spread the character. Alrighty. Okay. And now that we've got most of that done, we're missing a little bit of volume here. Let's add some of that and a little bit more here and a little bit more there. There we go. And now one issue we're having here is that our vastus, what's it called? Our vastus medialis, medial meaning inward, is actually a lot larger than it looks here. So we need to add in a bit more volume to it, a little bit more, fill it out a little bit more. Its length is quite deceptive in its look, considering that the femur is the largest muscle in G-brush in the leg, but the vastus medialis is quite a large muscle group in your body, which is very important to identify and make sure is visible. Go back to our clay strips and we shall square brush left and just bring up our Sartorius a bit more as well again, and the vastus medialis will come there, and it bulges the most towards the bottom, and then we can redefine the form of our femoral femoris rectus muscles, and I guess the rectus and medialis, rectus medialis, rectus femoris and medialis femoris, and that is it. That's all we need to add there. And here we can just add in. Okay, this, it's not necessary to do it this way either. Remember the shape of your cartilage, your kneecap, not cartilage, technically I think it is. Anyway, there we go. It's kind of triangular in shape, bulges more towards the top to add more of a defining form there, and we'll fill that out. And towards the bottom of it, we can just add in the fat and muscle tissue that comes to accompany it, and there we go. We have our knee formed, nice and easy. And now we can skip to the lower part, the distal part of our limbs. Stay in the front view. Now we have major muscle groups, and most of them generally flow towards the inner end, the medial. They have a medial extension in your body, on your leg. So, well, sorry, front view. These will generally flow downward like that, into the inner part of your ankle. And there we go. And we can add that muscle tissue there, add those fibers, let it flow. It's unnecessary though, we will smooth this out a lot, but for us to understand the anatomy, I feel it is necessary to go through it. And we get that slight bulge towards the top of the knee, where the tendons attach, and you have another a flow of just tendon tissue muscle going all the way down to the front of the leg. And as for here, for your Peroneus longus muscles, they flow. You have two sets flowing from up here and right next to each other from the front. So here comes our second one, and it also flows inward, which also breaks down into smaller tendon-y kind of connections and muscle tissue down here, but it's not that necessary to indicate. And that will kind of generally form our muscle structure there, and we're good to go. And then one more, we now come back into our sural muscles. Now the Sartorius, having flown all the way down into the leg with the tendons joining, I don't know what to call that, and joining into the bicep femoris, which is your hamstrings, I guess, better way to say it, more commonly known as the femoris, will flow there. And these two, as we know, the bicep muscles from the back, I don't know why the definition and differentiation here has gone off. I think it's from just adding that extra volume just now, but there you have it. We have two sets of muscles, and with the one already flowing into the Sartorius towards this end. And if you notice one thing, when people work out, a lot of the bulging will happen towards these muscles, towards this end of the bicep femoris. And there we go. It's pretty good. And this end joining down to the bottom of the leg and coming to the front, and that's done. And flowing from underneath them, we will have the two muscle groups which form up our sural / our calf muscles. It's two large groups, very not easy to actually distinguish unless when the legs are flexed as well. One flows just like that and will form the inner sural muscle. I assure you, I is not trying to be funny. That is our sural muscle. There we go. It assures your walk. There we go. Dad jokes 101. Okay, there we go. And it generally does bulge more towards the lower end, so I'm adding in that volume to it, but I want to do it through the buildup of muscle tissue so this can kind of become second nature and be able to recognize it easily when you're working. And there we go, and to the back view, and we will work in our second calf muscle. And with most people it is shorter than the medial, but with mine, this one is a bit lower extended than that, which obviously has to do more with my bone structure as well and the way I exercise and walk. Like I said, there's no single rule for how to work muscle structure. There's a generalization of it, so we can study, but it won't always be the same. People have different muscle structures because we don't all walk the same, we don't all exercise the same, and I'll always remind you all of that. So there we go, and that is our calf muscles done. When we smooth down, this will actually fill out quite nicely. And then we have our general tendon muscle tissue, which flows all the way down through the Achilles. By name, I hope I can actually find one that is appropriate for titling this. I don't have the best of references for it, so we'll kind of have to wing it, but I assure you that it is there. So the top end I know is called the calf muscles, and I will share that info with y'all maybe in another tutorial. I think it's called the calcanean tendon, which refers to the whole flow from up there going down, and your soleus is your muscle tissue that flows just here on the side next to it. So you have your soleus muscle tissue there that flows, and then you have your Achilles tendon flowing all the way from up here going all the way down. As we know, it is a very essential part of your anatomy and structure to the leg. If you cut off this tendon, pretty much everything else in your leg will also go kaput. So keep that in mind. It would be a good muscle to it'll be a good idea to exercise your muscle tissue there. I'm not trying to put fear in y'all. And here's your two sort of soleus muscles flowing this way, and there we go. And then we just have small thinner muscle tissue and fiber that flows down here. All of that is just extra, it's just bonus knowledge. Once we smooth this down, I'm sure you've noticed this with your own legs, this stuff is not really all that visible. It's just for understanding the anatomy of it, and yeah, it will help your knowledge, and you can look smart as F. Now we can press P, switch to the pinch brush again, enlarge it, and just shrink the Achilles end of it for the tendon to sharpen in. I'm sure you've noticed with your own legs it is quite sharp on that end, and if it isn't, then you might want to visit a doctor maybe and have that checked out a little bit. And here what we'll do, this will be able to fix far better once we've done the foot block out. We'll add it in with the foot block out, but in general, let's press G brush, your ankle bones will stick out from here and then attach to the foot. So we'll just add it on this one, although it is better to do it with the foot block out. And there we have it, guys. That's our detailing of the leg and its muscle structure. And from here, all we gotta do is the simple usual: hold down shift, smooth down, and you'll see wherever we had uneven topology, we are left with slight little issues there, and this was from using the grab brush to try and fix the Sartorius. But it's not a train smash, by the way, guys. It'll work out. And there we go, inflated, and using the clay strips, and just hold down shift and smooth down. And as always, try to work with a much softer, lower strength smooth brush, just so you can have control all the way down while you're doing it. So we don't want to overly smooth it out. Like we said, we have a very ripped character. He's a bodybuilder. It's the best way for us to do muscle structure studies. Otherwise, it's kind of weird and pointless. And there we go. And the reason why we only do the smoothing down while we're using the clay strips, like I told y'all before, makes it easier for us to, like now when we see little shortages and areas that we just want to rework and fix up a little bit, we just sculpt in a little bit of extra volume and just hold shift, smooth it back down, and just have a much nicer looking sculpt overall. Like we see here, this femoral is looking a bit weird here. We just add in a little bit more volume there, smooth it down as much as we can. Some of these artifacts will be caused because of the fact that we're using quads to sculpt this, but it is indeed, like we said before, not a train smash. It is easy to fix by sculpting in and around the area where you're having these sharp edges, where it stands out too much. And there we go, there's our muscle structure. And smooth that down and come back to the gluteus medius. We had the good flow of muscle there, and smooth that down and smooth the back muscles down. The only last bit we will have to do is that once we're done with this and we starting to put our mesh together, we are going to have to slightly resculpt back some tissue in here to fill out the volume of the gluteus maximus and get a good joining in to the gluteus medius on the side of the leg there. But other than that, all will be well, all is perfect. And like I said before, just hold down shift and decide how ripped your character is gonna look. So if you can see that, once we do that, those are perfectly muscular legs, very well toned individual. This dude could be either a bodybuilder or like a super athlete, somewhere in the Olympics. And there we have it. There's our sculpt done. Now if you guys have any questions, comments, please do share, leave it in the comment section. You can contact me through the Buy Me a Coffee page as well. Leave comments under the links that I will have for this, for the access to this for you guys who are subscribers, and I appreciate it greatly. And there we go, just fixing in a little bit of this artifact we have there, and another one here, and hold shift, smooth that down, and it won't stand out much. There we have it. And another one here, as we can see here, we're going to push control and hold down shift and press down on the keyboard or on your mouse, and then press period on the keyboard just to zoom in. I'm going to add a little bit of that volume back, and once we smooth down, that artifact goes. And yeah, this is just pretty much a refining process of our leg sculpt. And there we have it, guys. There's our legs done, looking superb. If you do agree with me, please do say so. And by the way, the reason why you can't see anything and it's like, what happened to all my work, is because the level of sculpt is set to 0 for the viewport, and we can just bring back our detailing. It's also a nice way to decide on how much detailing you do need. If it's unnecessary, we can leave it at this, at 1, and just when you click shade smooth, though, as you can see, we don't have much detailing. The quads are visible. Once we go up to our real level of sculpt, we've got a nice sculpt there. Sorry, that doing that shade flat kind of just ruined the sculpt. And back to our front view, back to this. Sorry, my blender is having a little bit of a glitch moment. As you can see, it's added weird streaks to my sculpt. which could work if this was like an old dying person, but since it's not, and we could actually use this to our advantage. There we go. And there's our sculpt, guys. Brilliant. And if you drop the division level and you go back, as you can see, it adds those creases back again. I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe it should, but that's something for you guys to take heed of and notice as well now about sculpting in Blender. See, we always learn. The more practice you put in, the more you will learn and understand. And now from henceforth, we will sculpt understanding that to adjust these levels when you play with it, unless if my graphics card is just so crappy. But the adjustments will affect your overall sculpt once again. There we go. Perfect. Alright, I think we'll call it quits for this one. It's another long one, guys, but yeah, it's what we do to learn. As you can see, all in all, if you put all your time together here, it'll take you roughly, if you're not a pro, even if you're not a pro, it'll take you about 4 hours to put in a good, to create a good and decent sculpt. And yeah, alright, cheers guys, see you in the next one. GG, God's good.